what's going on guys? Arekkz here, and today I want to talk about Cyberpunk 2077. This is a game that a lot of people are looking forward to, and for very good reason. I had a chance to see the behind closed doors demonstration at this year's E3. I saw last year's one as well. So today I wanted to talk about my impressions of that, and also just talk about some of the stuff that we learned from the most recent gameplay. So if you guys do enjoy this, then a like would be super appreciated. Comment down below, let me know what you guys think of this. Let me know if you have any questions. Let me know what you're hoping to see. And of course, don't forget to stay tuned because we've got plenty more stuff coming your way. And as and when we find out more about Cyberpunk on the run up to launch, I will of course be keeping you guys bang up to date. Now, to begin with, getting the kind of most important stuff out of the way, of course, release date. If you missed it, it is releasing next year, April 16th. So yes, it is coming this console generation. I was mistaken, and I'm very happy about that, because while yes, it is still next year, in the grand scheme of things, it's not that far away. And of course, on top of the release date, we got to see the various different editions that we can pre-order. And that collector's edition, it is calling my name. I am very, very close to hitting that pre-order button because it looks very, very awesome. However, moving on from there, speaking about the actual game. So the demo this time was actually really interesting because this demo this year gave us a much better feel as to how the game plays. So to kind of paint the picture, I'm sure all of you guys by now have seen the gameplay from last year's E3 because following the behind closed doors demo, a few months later they released it so the public could see it, and that one was a lot more flashy. The first demonstration they showed was very much designed to grab people's attention and be like, yo, this is some of the crazy stuff you can get up to in Cyberpunk. They showed you some of the latest skills, they showed you some of the kind of crazy ways you can interact with the world, they showed you a lot of cool things, but they also showed it to you in a very sort of disjointed manner. They jumped between different sections to try and give you a cross-section as to what the world had to offer. And that was really cool. It served its purpose, everyone got very excited for it, and again, for good reason. However, this year, the focus was much more on presenting a grounded experience, presenting a realistic end-to-end flow to show you just how you might embark on a mission and follow that through until the end. So it actually gave us a really good feeling as to like how we're going to be playing the game next year. And it was very, very cool. So the demo started by showing off some new character creation, which is also something else we got to see in greater detail. In last year's demonstration, they just picked between different characters and then just basically got started. This time around, we got to actually see some of the different options. So of course, you have male and female, you have different hairstyles, you have different body types. You'll actually be able to mix and match different body types and facial features, hairstyles, voices, all those kinds of things to actually create the character that you want to play as. But no matter who you ultimately end up picking, you will still be playing or known as V, the mercenary, because that's kind of integral to the story experience. And as part of the character creation process, you also have a life path. Now this is a new system as well, where you'll be able to choose between 3 life paths, and this basically references where you came from. So you can either pick a nomad, a corp, or a street kid. There's some really cool artwork for this, by the way. I'll flash this up on screen so you can sort of see the the artwork that represents your heritage effectively. And this is more than just like a style choice. This will actually have different impacts in game. So later on, when they were playing through the mission and there were opportunities to speak to people or to effectively, have conversations, have dialogues, depending on your background, depending on your life path, there are sometimes opportunities that open up. So say, for example, if you're in a situation where you're, down the alleyways and you're speaking to, I don't know, like a drug dealer or someone that's down on the street, and there might be like a conversation option that if you grew up on the street, you might have an alternative option to speak to them and maybe kind of get wise in a conversation. Meanwhile, if you came from a corporate background and you've never been exposed to that lifestyle, then you have the kind of default options. So sometimes those are blocked out to you. And of course, that extends the opposite way around. If you then start going to the, more corporate, expensive side of the city and you start getting into those, higher, richer circles, there may also be situations where, conversation-wise, you can navigate your way through if you have that corporate background. Meanwhile, if you come from the street, you might not necessarily be able to. So these choices are actually going to affect how you can interact with the world, how you can complete your missions, so they are actually pretty cool. And then beyond that, you also have a large set of skills to choose from, so you can then affect how your character plays. You have things like strength, cool, different stats, all those things like that, different ways to tweak your characters based on the way that you want to play. And speaking of gameplay choices, they did also mention that it is entirely possible to have a non-lethal playthrough. There are options to take people out in a non-lethal way. There are non-lethal weapons, different things you can choose from, pick from and whatnot. You can hack your way through areas to effectively avoid confrontation. So there is supposedly going to be a way to do a non-lethal playthrough. I don't know whether that extends to the entire game, but if that does, that's pretty cool. That reminds me back in the sort of Metal Gear Solid 4 days, I remember doing one of the completely non-lethal playthroughs. That was really awesome. In fact, CD Projekt did say in an interview that they are looking at ways to let players choose skills that follow the no-kill playthrough, so hopefully by the time the game launches, that does extend to the entire game. Because having that freedom in a game like this is kind of important. Now, going back to the actual demo itself, one of the cool things they actually did during the playthrough when they were going through, they actually, for the most part, demonstrated this male character who was set up as a tech-focused character, so we could hack different areas and we could take the slightly less kind of combative route through the level. However, then when it got to the very end, this big final area where we effectively had to hack this van, they then showed us two different ways. They started off with the hacker playthrough, and they then switched back to a combat class who is definitely more so about getting up close and personal, getting in people's faces, and just using explosives and all the different weapons they have available. So seeing a mission completed in two very distinctly different ways also just goes to show how much variety there will be in the gameplay. It's not just going to be a linear path. It's not just going to be like, hey, go here, press this button, open this door and kill these guys. There are different ways you can approach this, and that came across very nicely in the gameplay. Now, outside of that, a few other things that surfaced from some surrounding interviews. When it comes to exploring the world, you can think of your car kind of like your horse in Witcher, in that you can basically summon it to wherever you need to be. So when you want to get around the world, you can of course use that. You can use different vehicles. There were bikes. We saw a bike being driven, which is really cool. Keep in mind, Cyberpunk itself is still a first-person game, but when you're driving, you can go into third person, which is really awesome. We also have interactive environment. There are destroyable elements in certain areas, which you can then use to navigate the environment. There are also multiple vendors and vending machines that you can use to buy supplies. In fact, when they were going through the demo, they went to a vendor who just so happened to sell the jacket they were effectively giving away at the gameplay presentation, which is really cool. It's really cool yellow and black bomber jackets. And they also mentioned, for the people that want to play on PC that are talking about modding support, they said while it will not be available at launch, it is something they want to support further down the line, so likely post-launch we could expect to see mod support. Now finally, to round it all out, for those of you wondering how Keanu Reeves works into all of this, because when he turned up on stage in the Xbox conference,
please welcome Keanu Reeves.
How's it going?
that was an incredibly awesome moment. I'm a big fan of Keanu Reeves. Way back, I've been watching him since the Bill and Ted days, so to see him in Cyberpunk is very awesome. But he basically plays a character called Johnny Silverhand, who is, well, from what we saw from the gameplay demo, appears to be this mental apparition, someone that I believe you're seeing in your head, and sometimes he will give you advice, sometimes he will kind of suggest what you should be doing, and other times he has his own agenda, so we don't necessarily know at this stage whether he's there to help us, whether he's there to hinder us, whether he will lead us astray. But he appears to be, he's not just going to be one of those kind of cameos that just shows up from time to time, he's going to be a prevalent character, to my understanding, throughout the entire game. So, Keanu fans, you're going to get your fix of him in Cyberpunk.
The feeling of being there, of walking the streets of the future, is really going to be breathtaking. You're breathtaking. You're breathtaking. You're all breathtaking.
But for the time being, that is a quick few notes on what we learned so far from the gameplay demo. It is worth mentioning for those of you that want to see the gameplay from this year's E3, they mentioned that they will be revealing it at PAX West, which is August 30th. So yes, it's a little bit further away, but in a couple of months, you too will be able to see the gameplay demo we saw at E3. So stay tuned for that. Once it does get released, I'll probably do like an in-depth breakdown of that and show it to you guys in greater detail. But for the time being, thanks for watching. Catch you guys next time.
We have a city to burn.
I really hope you guys enjoyed that video. Remember to hit that subscribe button and also click on the little bell icon to turn on notifications so you don't miss my next upload. Also, don't forget, you can check out 269 and Paradise Central streaming over on Twitch 6 days a week. You can find a link to the multi-stream in the description box down below. Be sure to drop by and get involved. Thanks again for watching. Take it easy. Catch you next time. Peace out.